From the Democratic National Convention in Chicago for the Center Square, I'm Greg Bishop, and we're joined now by an Arizona state delegate, Daniel Hernandez. Daniel, thanks for taking time with us. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Greg. I'm excited to be back in Illinois.
Yes, and we're glad to have you and all the delegates from across the country. To start off here, you've been in politics for a bit. Have you ever seen anything as we've seen over the past 6 to 7 weeks in the political world?
I started in 2008 as a volunteer for Hillary Clinton. I've only ever seen this kind of excitement once, and that was for Barack Obama. So it is not quite the same, because I actually think this is more excitement than even Obama had. Having been in Arizona when I started my political career, it's incredible how much has changed in just the last few weeks, and I think the palpable sense of excitement that we're getting, not just from Democrats, but from Republicans and independents. I don't know if you saw, but Mayor John Giles, a Republican mayor in Mesa in Arizona, endorsed and was speaking on the DNC stage just last night or the night before.
So when it comes to heading into November, we've got less than 80 days or so. Obviously, the party faithful are going to be watching closely and talking with their friends. But what about those undecideds? What about those who are independents? What do you think is going to bring them to the Democrat tent?
I think what's happening right now is Joe Biden laid out what his legacy was and what he's been able to accomplish on night one. And over the next couple of nights, we're doing this crescendo to what America can and should be. And we're going to end with Kamala Harris on Friday with her keynote and her accepting the formal nomination. While we're doing that here in Chicago, Donald Trump is in Arizona, playing dress up at the border, doing what Republicans do each election cycle, whether it's a 2-year cycle or a 4-year cycle. Republicans come to my old legislative district, which is on the U.S.-Mexico border, and they say, we got to be tough on the border, we got to secure the border, but they're not actually offering solutions. And I think that's the difference. That's how we get those independents and those Republicans. Joe Biden won Arizona by less than 11,000 votes. Our governor, Katie Hobbs, won by less than 17,000 votes. It's going to be a tight race, but it's going to be decided by those moderate Republicans and those independents that are sick and tired of politicians playing games and not actually offering solutions, which is what's happening here during the DNC. Kamala Harris is laying out her vision and also saying, if you're serious about doing things like securing the border, don't kill the bipartisan border bill, which is what Joe Biden and she were fighting for. And Donald Trump called Republican senators and said, don't vote for this because it's not good for our election.
The border, obviously, a big issue. We've seen it even here in Illinois and Chicago in particular, being on the receiving end of non-citizen migrants. But what are some of the other issues that are out there? I know that you have a experience in the space of gun violence. Talk a bit about that and how you think Harris's positions would possibly bring some people into the fold.
Right, and I think the thing that we need to remember is that the Biden-Harris administration has accomplished more than almost any other administration in modern American history when it comes to gun violence prevention. Starting the Office of Gun Violence Prevention, which he helps to lead, making sure that we have dedicated staff offering solutions, but more importantly, passing the Safer Communities Act, which took 3 decades to get passed. It's not quite as far as we need it to go, and it's not the be-all, end-all, but to have made that progress and to be able to get bipartisan support, which is what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have done, I think is an incredible start, and it's a great preview of what she's going to do when she is president. And I think the other thing that's really important is economy right now is a critical thing in Arizona. I'm no longer a legislator, but I work in advocacy, and I talk to people all the time. Costs of groceries, cost of gas, they are exploding. And what is happening is Donald Trump goes and talks about how Kamala is crazy, her laugh is to this, goes after her and does personal attacks. Even when he's supposed to be talking about the economy, he pivots and talks about what he's comfortable with, which is personal attacks. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is laying out her vision for what we can do to improve the economy, to lower costs for housing, trying to restore the child tax credit, which will bring millions of kids out of poverty. So we're working on policies and solutions. Donald Trump is laying out an alternate vision, which is one that's focused on how big his crowd sizes are and whether or not her laugh is an acceptable laugh. And I think that's the difference of when we're talking about gun violence, the economy. She's laying out plans and talking about what she has done as vice president with Joe Biden as president and what she's going to do to continue that legacy.
These are unique events. Yeah. They happen once every 4 years. What are you learning from some of the other delegates from across the country?
So I'm lucky to have been a delegate in 2016 for Hillary Clinton. So this is not my first rodeo, but it is such a wonderful experience to be here with thousands of other Democrats from all over the country. For many years, I was a long-suffering Democrat in Arizona, where we were used to just losing. We weren't a state that was considered important or crucial for presidential elections. But in the last couple of years, because Democrats have been able to lay out a vision that's better for Arizonans, we've won the governorship, the Secretary of State's office, the Attorney General's office, and we had 2 Democratic senators. Now we have 1.5 Democratic senators because we have an independent senator in Senator Sinema. But Democrats have figured out the way that we win in Arizona, and I think the way that we win nationally, is not just by playing to Democrats, it's by talking to folks about the real problems and the solutions that we're able to offer. Meanwhile, we've seen in the Donald Trump camp and the MAGA camp that people focus on personalities and attacks. That's not how we win in Arizona. And people are sick and tired of that politics of, going after each other instead of actually talking about what we can do to improve people's lives.
Daniel Hernandez, a delegate from the state of Arizona, here with the Center Square at the Democratic National Convention. Thank you so much for taking time with us.
Thanks for having me.